Hello. Welcome to another edition of Who's Your Caddy, a weekly PGA DFS talk show with a sprinkling of props, brought to you by Club Fantasy and Women of Fantasy Football. Thank you so much for supporting this little pod. While there are plenty of shows out there that are going to give you loads of great advice, I'm sure, myself, me, along with my co-host Adam Hallas at Mr. Hallas on Twitter, are here to fill in the blanks for you and help you make the final decision on your lineup. So let's just get right into it. And we're back. Tonight here on Who's Your Caddy, we're talking about the Charles Schwab Challenge. Say that 3 times fast. I dare you. It is at Colonial Hill Country Club in Fort Worth, Texas. But before I go any further and just take over this show, let me bring in my cherished and valuable co-host, Adam Hallas, at Mr. Hallas on Twitter. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello. What's new? We always got to start with what's new. What's new?
Oh, just watching a fellow St. Louis guy by the name of Michael Block kind of take the world by storm.
Oh my goodness. Hey, Wendy, she says, hey, sweet lady. I'm assuming she's talking about me.
Thank you, Wendy.
And she also tosses in there, Adam.
Like she's mad at me. We just need to add my middle name in there, and it's like I need to clean up my room.
Just like a nod, Adam.
Doctor.
Well, you're right. Michael Block taking the world by storm. I mean, wow, what a story. I was going to talk about this a little bit later, but I actually think this is the perfect little spot for that. I mean, what? He's the course pro. Like, I could go down to my local course, sign up for lessons with the course pro. Could just end up being some rando guy like Michael Block who happened to win like a course pro tournament, right? Something like that to get in.
Mm-hmm. He made a qualifier, and then he got into the tournament. Yep.
And then, I mean, there were other course pros that were playing in this tournament from across the country, other people who have exemptions. I heard that there's only, I wish I had this right stat, but I feel like it was like 3 other course pros who's ever even been in the top 20 in some ridiculous amount of years. So I'm just making up random numbers right now, but it was fantastic.
It was fun to watch, and not only was it fun to watch because he graduated from SLU here, he graduated from UMSL, but then not only did he get a hole in one, he got a dunk. A dunk. Do you know how rare it is to get a dunk in golf? Just straight into the hole.
The camera, the first angle that I had seen didn't even capture the hole in time. Like they're just panning, to get it when it lands on the green or whatever. But it had already bloop. I can't. It's too exciting. It's too cool. I'm going to admit, and I owe him an apology, the first day in the first interview where he's walking down the course and they're talking to him, I'm like, ugh, it's like every bro. And I was not interested day one. But then they actually talked to him more, and he actually is very humble. And really just excited like any of us would be to be playing with these people.
Yeah, I think that it brings in a huge proponent that when he was told to, hey, you're going to be paired with Rory, what do you think about that? He goes, really? I'm going to be paired with Rory? Like, yeah, like any of us would be like, yeah, that's fucking awesome. Like, um, but it also goes to a little sidetrack that I hope the PGA doesn't have separate golf balls for the pros versus the weekend warriors like us and like Michael Block, and because I think that is what makes golf unique, is that most people have a chance. Like for the U.S. Open, if you carry a different, a certain handicap, make it to a couple qualifiers, you have a chance to make it into the tournament. And I don't think any other sport has that opportunity. And so I think if they do two separate balls, I think that's going to take a lot of that away.
I
Soapbox off.
well, I'm just throwing this out there as I feel like he could get like a tournament tour ball sponsor because of the excitement around it.
I think he's going to get that because I think they already asked him to play. Well, not in, no, obviously in Charles Schwab, but they already asked him to play in RBC.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
So he's going to ride that train a little bit, and I think we'll be seeing a lot more of Michael Block. His ownership for this weekend is projected at 5%, which is pretty high for somebody that just a club pro.
I think a lot of people are just counting on him to make the cut, which is what DFS can come down to, is just that guy who's going to make the cut. Wendy said that he literally brought tears to her eyes. It's true. Like watching some of those interviews, it makes you like a little misty. Like, oh my gosh, what a dream come true for Michael Block.
Yeah, it was fun to watch, and it was also fun to watch the videos of his club, his home club. When they saw him, and everyone's up and cheering, giving high fives. It was just good.
Well, somebody on Twitter, sorry, friend on Twitter that I didn't write this down who said this, but somebody on Twitter that follows me tweeted at me, might have tweeted at us both and said that their friend goes to that club and the bar was full before 9 a.m. with like over 100 people just watching and cheering. And
Oh, I would have been up there as well. Like
yeah.
would have been a fun day just to watch that guy go around. So
For real. Well, one more note on Michael Block before we move on. I had some luck with props this week, which we'll talk about. And I love props. If you watch any of my stuff during football season, you know that that's my bread and butter. So why not golf as well? Michael Block, DraftKings currently has an opt-in prop for Michael Block to make the cut at plus 200 right now. And I'm not sure. I thought I had read earlier that it could get larger depending on how many people enter, but don't quote me on that. It's currently at plus 200. Opt in to that boost. You can get Michael Block to make the cut and make a little scratch on the side. So let's move on. We're going to go ahead and talk tonight a little bit about last week's results. You probably won't dwell, I'm sure. What to expect this week, including the course, conditions, history, players, whatever. And we're going to give you our top 3 picks to build around, like a core is what the pros like to call it. And a what the fuck pick. WTF, our famous what, why, and you'll hear why. So do you want to talk about last week? Share a little about what happened, maybe?
So my core picks got 1 out of 33 right. Joaquin the Dream and Ricky Fowler let me down a little bit there. My lineups overall broke even. I did the 150 max, and so I had a large percentage of different other people. But had Joaquin the Dream and Ricky Fowler stayed in, I would have been doing pretty well. Pretty well. And it was in our little Rise and Fall tournament. It was back and forth between me and Sharks, so it was a fun little.
It was fun. It was not fun for me. My DFS lineup just decided to go to sleep, apparently. I blame Sung J M. However, I am not holding a grudge because I will likely play him this week. You can take that as a side note. I think that's a good course for Sung J M this week. But aside from DFS, props hit big for me. A $10 5-leg parlay, picking the matchups. It hit $207. Super proud of that. It was fun. I'm going to do it again this week. Woo. FSGA Experts League update. Second place overall this week, and I won my matchup. I plan on doing it again this week because the same guys who scored me all the points this week are a lot of the same guys who are well suited for this course this week, which we're going to jump into. Adam, tell us about Colonial Hill. Is that what it is?
Colonial Country Club.
Colonial Country Club, and give us an explanation, a rundown, any fun tidbits that you want to talk about.
Well, sure. So okay, last week gave us a little glimpse of what's going to happen this week. The last past winner of the Charles Schwab challenge was -9. We're going to have similar play that we did last week. The Colonial is not long by any stretch of the imagination, 7,000 yards. But when you build a course and you have a PGA tournament come to your place and it's short, what do? Well, you make the approach tough, you make the around the green tough, you make the putting tough, right? You have to make it tough somehow outside of the yardage. And so we got accuracy is going to be key. No matter how you talk about it, off the tee, we want driving accuracy. We don't care diddly squat about distance at all. We are more on around the green, the approach. A lot of the fairways have these tree-lined pecans up and down the sides. And why that matters is if you miss the fairway whatsoever, you have these overhanging limbs that you're going to have to figure out how to get around. And a lot of times you're going to have to just, squirt it out back on the fairway and figure out your third shot onto the green. Now we have a couple of particular holes that are going to be even more tough than the whole course itself. So, we have the horrible horseshoe, which is the nickname for holes 3 through 5. It's one of the hardest stretches of holes on the PGA. We have unlucky number 13 with a triangle green. It's a par 370-yard par 3 with 2 bunkers that pair up on either side on this, I would say pyramid-shaped green with some runoff space. This par 3 plays bogey or double bogey typically. It is a tough course. I think our cut last week, because of the weather and stuff, was at +5. I think this week we're going to be +1, +2 is probably going to be our cut. We're going to have to contend with the Texas winds as well, sweeping off the plains because there's no other trees around. So it's going to make for a tough approach shot. So if you're trying to get that ball up in the air and make it stick and spin back, so it's going to be a tough game.
Well, thank you for that. I'm excited to see this horrible horseshoe. I heard you mention here the key strengths needed this week, and I agree. Distance is not going to be a huge factor here. I'm looking for someone with a strong approach, well-rounded player, some advantage there in the approach, but I'm really looking for that well-roundedness. I think that the usual suspects that tend to come up for me are going to come into play again this week. So why don't we just get into this? Give me 3 guys you're going to build your lineup around this week.
Well, because we're looking at accuracy and approach and putting, some of the people I'm looking at, just some of the people. I'm looking at Tommy Fleetwood, Brendan Todd, or the Todd Father, as I like to call him, Victor Hovland. I think he'll do well. The only thing that I think he needs to work on, and it's going to be a little bit of trouble for him, is his putting. But I think the other thing I'm kind of worried about too is people that played last week. It's such a grueling week, is that they might be tired this week. And so I'm taking a little bit of chance on Victor Hovland, but I like Fleetwood, Brendan Todd, and Victor Hovland.
All right. I'm going to catch up here in the chat. Our friend Royal Seeds joined us on YouTube and said, Kelly and Adam, hello. And paying the lovely compliments, saying that I'm looking good. Thank you. Yes, I am healing up nicely. I appreciate it. Thank you. Back to the picks. I agree with you on Fleetwood. Fleetwood is going to be one of my core picks this week as well, and is no surprise to see that he's somewhat pricier than he has been. Hopefully I'm staying in and not too choppy. How have I been?
No, you've been pretty good.
Okay. Fleetwood, I like him this week. He's in the 9s. I know KH Lee, another favorite.
I think he's going to do well.
I think he's going to do well this week too. What are your thoughts?
This course plays well for him. There's been a group in our Team Rise or Fall Discord where they're like, I'm not a KH Lee whisperer. Every time I play him, he just doesn't do well. But I think this week is the week that you play KH Lee.
I agree. I also have to play him because he's on my FSGA fantasy league, along with Fleetwood. So maybe I'm playing favorites. Maybe I'm giving myself something to root for. And if we're trying to bring the budget down a little bit, take a look at JT Poston. You can get a little value out of that. And I think that he's well suited for this course this week. Also on my roster, believe it or not, in my pool and on my roster. Adam, who is your WTF pick this week and why?
Well, it's Wendy's favorite. It is Eric Cole. Now, his driving accuracy might not be the best. It's just barely on that line of average, right? But he's got great approach. He's got great around the green. Now, hoping at that price, he kind of makes the cut and gets the points, and that's where I need that. If I'm going to play, a lot of people I think are going to be playing Tony Finau because he has great course history here. He has great course history here, and of course Scheffler's playing, so he might be one of the other favorites. I'm staying away from Jordan Spieth. He's had wrist problems, and he looked like he injured it again at the PGA Championship. But I think Eric Cole for the price is pretty good.
Well, Royal Slade, our Canadian friend, agrees with you.
Thank you, Slade.
Wendy's a little nervous with an oh no coming from the chat. But Wendy makes the cut. Don't do a top 20 prop with Eric Cole this week. Makes the cut. My WTF pick this week was a tough one. I was going back and forth on a few that we haven't played in a while. One of our early favorites this season that I know Adam and I were both picking pretty frequently early in this PGA season was Robbie Shelton. So I'm going to bring back Robbie Shelton this week as my WTF pick. He's been a little quiet lately, but looking at course fit, I think he's pretty well suited. I know that there may be some question driving, but he's a good price, and overall, I do like his course fit. So, yeah, I think it's good. Anything else we want to share this week?
I think this week's going to play out a little bit like last week, a little bit less fanfare. It's not going to be
less weather.
a little less weather. We are going to get some of the winds, but it's not going to be as hyped up as it was for like Michael Block and people wearing backwards hats to keep the rain off their face. Um, but yeah, it'd be a fun time.
Yeah. I'm dropping in our picks straight from the show sheet. Kelly says. So I dropped in our core picks. We've got Eric Cole and Robbie Shelton as those WTFs. So I hope that helped you guys out this week, helped close some of the gap as you're rounding out your lineups. I know we used to do this by high, medium, low, and even give you a full roster sometimes, but there's so much information out there. I wanted to make this more conversational, a little bit easier to digest, and just get you thinking about a direction maybe you hadn't thought about before. And that's why we're here. So if you have any questions, reach out to us on Twitter, Adam at Mr. Hallas, me at Kelly and Phoenix, and we'll be here again next week, Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Tell your friends. I'll probably throw out some props on Twitter as well because those are, they're getting fun. So, all right. I guess that's it.
That's it.
That's it. All right.
Show's over.
See you
Go
next
home.
week. Show's over. I got to find the music, though. Show's over. Bye, friends.